down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from what around the world. I know it's been too long because you know why? It's been like 2 weeks since I've been on the radio show because I have been marinating my next guest. My next guest has been getting the juices flowing, and I didn't want to just do some random podcast of trash. I just wanted to bring out a podcast, an interview that's just hot, that's just off the chain amazing. And I'm telling you right now, this dude that I have on the radio has completely inspired me. There's only been like one other dude that I'm like savvy number 2, right? This guy blew my socks off, and it's not because of his swagger. It's not because of his educational or where he came from, his day job. It was because of his tenacity of just doing the right thing. And so I would like to introduce James Greiner, right? Is it Greiner? Okay.
Greiner.
He's from Chattanooga, Tennessee, my stomping ground where I love to, where a lot of wonderful people in my life reside. And the main reason why I go back there every year, at least once or twice a year. But let me tell you how I met James. This is crazy. I was down there at Investor Weekend with Thomas Morgan, and we're producing this event. And things are great. And we do this thing on Friday. We have this mixer and we have this round table. And I see this tall, young looking dude. And I'm going to say nerd just out of love and affection.
A good looking nerd.
He got these cool glasses that one of my closest friends has this. And he's just chilling by the bar. And I'm like, I don't know if he's drinking. I don't know anything about him. But I don't know. We bump into each other. And I'm like, hey, what's up? And he's like relatively new to real estate. And of course, these events are, to draw new people, to encourage them. And there's some veterans that are there too that have been doing deals. And I just started chit-chatting with this guy. And he's like telling me he's in the middle of a 21 unit deal. I'm like, how old are you? 27. Okay. And then I'm like, well, you have this accent. And where's this little, northern accent? And he's like, I'm from Minnesota. I'm like, Minnesota? What in the world are you doing here in Chattanooga? And so then he goes into the story that his wife moved here and he went with her, and we'll get into that here in a minute, and that he applied for 125 jobs. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's what got me all juiced up. That's when I was like, that moment, it's like the Holy Spirit came over me, and I was like, I'm getting you on the radio show. Because I don't run into people like you that apply 125 times. People apply 1 or 2. I didn't get the job. I even hire people every day, and they don't even show up to Zoom. There's 6 million people out of a job because of COVID. And this young man, James Greiner, said, hey, I'm in a new area. I've never been there before, and I'm going to work my damnedest to get a job. And so this guy gets a job, and he has a little interest in real estate. And so he buys some. We're gonna get into this. Gets his little hands on a real estate course, and he's doing wholesale deals, and he's making thousands of dollars, and he's making more money than he did with his job. And so that's how I met this guy. And I'm just honored, James, for you to take the time to be on the Savvy Radio Show. I didn't do an intro myself. My name is VanCauwenbergh. You tuned in. Bam, bam, bing, bing. So James. 20. Now you're going to be 28 years old on Monday. So happy birthday.
Thank you.
That's kind of cool. Just a little side. Another thing why I have so much affection for you. I'm not gay. I'm just playing. I'm just like I do. I have, because everything that comes out of your mouth really resonates with me, and it really breaks me. And folks that are tuning in, that I know this episode is for somebody. I don't know who you are. If this is for you, you need to text me, message me, Facebook me, something, because the things that are about to come out of this young man's mouth has really inspired me. One reason is I was 27 years old when I started getting legit. When I got my hand on Rich Dad, Poor Dad, when I read that book, was around your age at 27, and I grew up very poor, and I was like, how is this even possible? I didn't know. I thought being rich was for somebody else. And reading that book has sparked my life. And And it's just interesting, you know, I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and they're in their 30s and they're still struggling. And I was at Lowe's the other day, and an 18-year-old kid never even heard, 19-year-old child didn't even know what an asset was, or didn't even know that he was, you know, working for free because he's paying taxes. So James, let's get into this roller coaster of this life. So why did you move to Chattanooga? And I'm curious about that. Like, your wife's like, why there? Minnesota is like a totally different place. Now it's bad rep 2020 COVID /
Yeah.
Black Lives Matters hashtag. But what happened? What does your wife do?
Yeah. Appreciate the savvy introduction there and all that. So yeah, like I said, I was born, raised in northern Minnesota, about an hour and a half from Canada. You know, small town, little community, and yeah, I went to college up there. I met my wife on a study abroad overseas in North Africa. She was from Atlanta, Georgia. We got married a year later. All went by really fast.
In
And
Minnesota? Did she come to Minnesota?
Yep. Yeah. So I was still finishing my victory lap, my 5th year of college. And so we got married. She moved up there, and we were up in Minnesota for a couple of years together. And then lived overseas in the Middle East for a year studying Arabic. And then,
Cool.
you know, came back and we were in Minnesota
Do you know Arabic?
a little bit. I studied about a year and a half.
Sweet.
Yeah, a couple years of French and Spanish as well. But I'm definitely American. I only speak one language.
Sad.
But yeah, so
I'm just playing. That's all I know.
So we were kind of in this whole transition. Like, as we were coming back from the Middle East, someone gave me Rich Dad Poor Dad, just as every single investor's story starts, reading that book. And so I read that, and I know we're up in Minnesota for about 7-8 months when I initially got back, and was learning about that. Started listening to a lot of podcasts and figuring out this whole investing thing, because, you know, I didn't come from poverty, but I didn't come from a lot. I mean, we never had a whole lot, but we never went without. So we were just kind of a, you know, average middle class family. My parents owned a small business type of thing. But yeah, I didn't really grow up with the mindset of I need to acquire assets. That was kind of a brand new concept to me. And so I really spent about a year kind of learning things, reading different books, listening to podcasts. And in that transition time in, what was it, December 2018? Yeah, 2018, I moved down to Chattanooga because that's where my wife's family's from. And so
What
brand
was
new
that,
area.
what was that decision like? Was it like she brought that to you, and were you in a transition right there in Minnesota? Like, you got the book. Were you working at the time? And did you have an undergrad as well?
Yeah, so I got my undergrad in cultural entrepreneurship.
Interesting. No disrespect. I was just like, cultural, huh? Okay.
Yeah, it was a brand new program. But yeah, so I was working up there. It was it was an intentional transition period. We were planning on moving back down to Chattanooga, but we wanted to spend a little time up there first. But, you know, I was working, baling hay, working for my stepdad's farm, and also as a wood-fired pizza chef at a small little coffee shop. And then my wife's a dog
Minnesota
groomer.
does not have a lot of opportunities, I would assume.
Not up there, really, unless you work in the mines. But, you know, the mines keep laying people off, and it's kind of boom or bust. But yeah, so the economy is pretty bleak. It's definitely challenging. So there's a lot more opportunity down here. But, you know, we moved down here. My wife was able to transfer, working with PetSmart at the time. And so she was able to keep working. But then, you know, like I said, I applied to 125 jobs, and, you know, we hardly had any savings to begin with. And when you go 3 months without a job and you keep applying, you get pretty.
I can't imagine your mental state. So you guys are just newly married, trying to figure it out, young, 20-something years old, 25-ish. And then you just on a whimsical new lifestyle in Minnesota, in Chattanooga. So like you had a new perspective, like there was some hope in your heart. I'm assuming like maybe this will turn around. And then you land here. She has a decent job. Did you guys live with her parents?
For the first about a month and a half until we got our own apartment. And
so
then
you're hanging out with the in-laws.
Yeah.
The broke entrepreneur. It's
Hey,
totally like Rich Dad Poor Dad.
right now.
Stay in the basement, homie. Stay in the basement. Dang. I mean, I love the story. I think it's awesome. I mean, I don't know. I know some of the details, folks. So just hang tight. We're going to bring them in.
Yeah.
So then you move, so you come down here, don't know anyone but her family.
Yep.
And you're crashing at their pad. So it's already, as a man, it's already kind of a little pressure. And then were you depressed? I mean, 125 applicant. I mean, were you like, and you have an undergrad, you had a degree.
Yep.
So it was like you're some, clueless kid running around with a nothing.
They say you get a degree so you can get a good job.
Yeah, it's a lie.
But really, you need a bachelor's so that you can get a master's so you can get a good job. But really, if you have a master's, that's not enough because you have to go get a PhD.
Yeah, you just this game is just like the medical world. The more you spend, the more colleges make money. It's just to keep you in debt, and so you can become a slave.
And this is actually the second period of time I've experienced like this. The first was after I graduated college, worked a couple little seasonal jobs for fun, and then as I tried to find more of a big boy job, I applied to about 100 jobs at that point. And that was back in 2016. So this was like my second time going through this whole experience of applying to all these jobs, going a few months without work. And there's just something did not resonate. I'm like, I do not want to go through this again. Like, this should not be how it.
No, but you had an entrepreneur undergrad. Like, I mean, you had a business mindset, but you were getting no traction. Did you try to do any entrepreneur endeavors? Did you try to flip anything? Did you try to partner with anyone? Or were you just trying to follow the system, and your mind was probably tweaking out because you just read Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is the system.
Right. Yeah. And that's a good point. So like, I guess I was the entrepreneurship major who liked the idea of business, but I didn't have any good ideas. And everyone's like, oh no, turn your ideas into dreams. I'm like, what?
Well, the real entrepreneur definition is steal someone else's idea and make it work. I'm like, for real.
Coffee shop. But actually, so
coffee shop.
And so here's actually one of the big things that really held me back for the longest time, and was a real obstacle to overcome. So, back in high school, my dad ended up getting cancer when I was 16, and then, from then until my junior year of college, for about a 6-year period, battled that till he finally passed away my junior year of college. And
sorry, man.
And so like, my home life was a real challenge at that time. It wasn't that anyone was doing anything wrong. Family loved me. They were great, but at the same time, we were all broken. And home kind of felt like, it kind of felt more like a funeral setting rather than a family setting a lot of times.
Or goals or hope.
Yeah, and so that really, shapes you in those years from like 16 to 21. Think of how much you develop in those times. So while all my friends are out there talking about the opportunities and hey, you can achieve your dreams, I'm more thinking like, heck, all I see is death, and like I don't see this future. And so for the longest time, that really held me back. And then after he passed, it was kind of the whole aftermath, and it often just kind of felt like God abandoned me or kind of threw me in the ditch, and at best it felt like damaged goods. So when you feel like damaged goods, you can't exactly go dream. You can't go conquer the world.
You can't make a phone call and say, hey, give me 10 G's. So, man, I can't. So this is all your high school. So your dad passed and was your junior in high school.
College.
And
so the whole high school and college experience was marred by this. And I had a few other friends or acquaintances that passed away at that time as well. And it was kind of.
Oh, so he got diagnosed in high school.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've been dealing with it for at least 4 or 5, 6 years.
Yeah. So it was about a 5.5, 6 year process. And so, at that point, it just really, really drags you down. You're just pretty exhausted at life overall. Or
the fear of you getting it.
I guess that too.
Satan just enables us. You're not good enough. I mean, I think that real entrepreneurism is confidence, and I think it's self-esteem. And I had a very low self-esteem as a child. I don't know if I don't talk about this much, but there was several times I wanted to commit suicide. There were several times I hated my birth. I hated my dad for leaving us, and my mom struggled to work 3 jobs all the time. So I always had a self-esteem problem, and how I fulfilled that was buying things because we didn't have things. So those were I guess, feel good. I think we all have demons, and I think we all are dealing with something. I think that we're lying to ourselves that it's not real. It's real. Like, death is real. I mean, your dad, I can't imagine my son who's 9 years old. Every day he says, I love you, Dad. And and all of a sudden I'm gone. I mean, it would be very devastating to a 9-year-old. I can't imagine going 18-year-old, 21-year-old, and the guy's gone. You know, I can't. I mean, my dad left when I was 2, so I never knew him. I didn't know. I don't have a dad. Like, I struggle every day to this day. 46 years old, I struggle. I can't. There's certain things that mechanically I can't do. Like, I have insecurity about. I tend to break things, like landlord things, or like just maintenance, like a hose on a. I'm dealing with this damn hose at my house, and I'm like, the lady's like, it's a long story, but. There's a ring that was still stuck on my hose, and it made it. She's like, you know, you need to break that ring off. And I'm like, I feel like I'm going to break the whole spigot out of the wall. But you know, and that's and my insecurity of that as a man of maintenance affects me to this day. At 46 years old, I still feel inadequate as a man because I can't maintain my own personal home. I have to call my homie, and he comes over and he fixes it for me. I mean. Thank God I do have someone I could call. And I used to pay for those people. That's what's the sad thing is. And I had to grow and mature over time where I just really was vulnerable and just asked people for help, which I never really liked. And that's my mantra today is like, you need to ask people for help. And that's why I'm so glad that we have a relationship is because just that, you know, I don't know, one day you may need me and one day I may need you. But anyway, so you're dealing with your dad. And you can't find a job. So like what? And then you had after you got Rich Dad Poor Dad, so you had some general idea of assets and real estate, and you wanted to get into real estate. So you know you're broke and you're newly married and you're living. What compelled you to buy a course, and what course did you buy?
Yeah, so I guess kind of something I always struggled with is like, all right, I'm book smart. I have good grades. People think I'm smart. I don't have any skills. Like, I don't have any competence when it comes to like fixing things or like, you know, I'm not an engineer. I don't have a trade. And so, you know, as I'm applying to all these jobs, I'm like, what do I even have to offer? And I'm like, and so, I mean, even as I'm learning about real estate, I'm like, all right, this sounds really good. I love this idea, but I'm like, I don't have any background in real estate. And caveat, like, so here's one of the big pet peeves I have. So when you go to these different real estate meetups, people talk about, you know, I didn't have any background in real estate and I got involved in investing. Then you go ahead and find out like, oh yeah, I mean, I worked as a contractor for like 5 years before that. Or yeah, I worked in construction for like 10 years. It's like, you do not understand the concept of no background in real estate. I mean, so like I had nothing, I don't know anything about repairs. And so that was kind of one of my big holdups is like, I don't know those things. So how can I actually get involved in this? So I really sold myself short. But then, you know, as I kept learning, I kept getting to the point of like, okay, I want to take action, but where do you start? And then,
so hold on. Do you know your personality type? Or are you analytical?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I always mix them all.
The one thing that you said is very powerful. And I don't mean to interrupt you, but you're like, I need to take action. Who the hell told you to do that? You didn't have a dad around. Were you fed up as a man? Were you like, okay, I got to provide for this wife of mine?
I guess the mixture of I just feel broke and I'm like, I don't
tired.
really see a way out of this. I don't just like wanted to not be broke anymore and also wanted to be able to make a bigger impact in the world. Like I want to be able to give generously. I want to be able to, you know, travel, have more of a life. And then, you know, at that time found out that we were pregnant. And so that was
a deal. Yeah. Interesting. Self-talk is so powerful and you're like, I got to do something. I got to take action. I don't hear that. Everybody wants to be rich. Everybody wants to be healthy and people all want to get married. But like, you know, my brother's 50 something years old and wants to be married, but he never leaves the house. I'm like, he's single. I'm like, dude, you gotta like your wife doesn't deliver the pizza, homie. You know, you gotta take action. So you talked yourself off the ledge. Like, how much was this course? And how the heck did you do this? Because like, this is the premise of this whole damn meeting. Yeah. This whole interview. I mean, I wanted to get to the core. I mean, you're a really nice guy, James. I'm like, I like you. But I'm trying to decipher what broke inside of you so we can tell the world to get them on the same page so they can do the same thing. Because they're all dying and hurting and wanting the same thing for their life. Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it's a mixture of just feeling broke and it's kind of like incompetent and like there's got to be a better way and like just going the route that we're that we're going right now, I don't see any way out of this. We're not going to magically, get out of the situation. I mean, didn't have any kind of retirement savings started or anything. So it's like, all right, we don't really have anything going for us, and we don't have much to lose. We have a new baby on the way. So it's like, something's got to change. And like, if we're going to take action, like this is the best time they're ever going to have to take action. It's like, good luck trying to start a business, with a newborn. Well, it'll be easier if you started, 6 months before the newborn came, type of thing. And then as we were wrestling through all this, went to a Rich Dad event, and you know how it is. You go to
get sold $200,
where you get like 500, and then
they keep ramping you up. Okay, so I get it. So you get
a free event that leads to taking out a credit card.
Yeah, $10,000 later. It's so funny. Thomas Morgan used to work for Rich Dad.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So, but anyway, okay. So you're taking action. Yeah. Now, before you take action, whatever it was, $200 for the first seminar, $100 or $300, wherever you went in the chain. Mm-hmm. How did you communicate that to a wife that's pregnant, that has hormonal issues? Because not issues in a negative way, just up and down. And she's got to be dealing with the pregnancy. How'd you sell your wife? Hey, I'm going to spend $300 on this course.
Yeah.
How'd that conversation go?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'd been kind of sharing little snippets throughout the past year of what I've been learning. It's like, hey, I want to do this. I don't know. I don't really know what to do. And then I brought her with to the free event, and she was like, that sounds pretty interesting. Like, I'm okay, like, going to the next
I can't wait to meet this chick.
Yeah. So, like, we went to a 3-day course together. And so, we're able to kind of just have some vision casts and be able to talk with others. And so that was really
amazing.
Valuable.
She's an amazing woman.
Yeah.
She's big time. You got lucky, homie.
Yeah.
It's not like that in reality.
No. So there's a lot of support there, and that's definitely something I'm really grateful for. Because I know a lot of
meet her. I'm coming down there again. So
come out and visit.
I will. I need to meet her. Yeah. I mean, she needs to have a podcast. I mean, I think a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of relationships are in discord because one wants to buy assets or build financial security or wealth, whatever you want to call it, and the other one wants to be super secure in their day job or simplicity of life. And being an entrepreneur is extremely complicated, and having the right team assembled, and especially the right spouse, is, I think, critical to your success. So kudos to her.
Yeah. So it was really vital having that alignment and purpose and direction right there. And that's something we'd always kind of wrestle with. It's like, now, how do you decide what to do? I mean, my family's in Minnesota, hers down in Tennessee. Like, I want to do this, I want to do that. And like, find alignment in your vision. I think that was something that God really worked out throughout the whole process, was like giving us both that same vision. She's like, I'm all on board. I support you in this. And then, so funny thing, awesome. A few weeks before that, when I was really kind of getting ready for this, God spoke to me directly through Captain America when I was watching Avengers Endgame. He's like, James, do whatever it takes. And they're getting ready to go back in time and save the world. And they all gather around like, whatever it takes.
So you got inspired by the movie.
Absolutely.
And you're like, I'm going to do whatever it takes. Okay. So let's fast forward a little bit. And then, okay. So how did you get to the investor weekend? How did that happen? And then let's talk about deals. So, and like, what's it really like? Cause you're still new to the game, but how long you been in real estate now? Almost a year now, a little over a year.
Yeah. It was 1 year ago this next week.
Okay. So you're in. Okay. Then how did you get to Investor Weekend? How'd you hear about? I'm just fascinated. Did you hear about it? Did you see it? How'd you know about it?
Yeah. So I kept seeing different posts about it. I mean, Thomas Morgan was posting about it all over the place, and so kind of just the way I am too. But like, I love meeting people. I love networking, and so any chance I can get, I'm always trying to meet new investors. And being brand new to the area, it's like, I don't know the area, I don't know the people, I don't know anything. And so it's one thing, taking out a personal loan to get this whole education and trying to figure this whole new thing out. But then it's like, I don't even know the area, I don't know the neighborhoods, I don't know the people. And so really the first like several months getting involved was more of like taking courses to learn some of the specifics and to find out like, okay, there's actually a lot that goes into this. It's not just hey, go to a seminar and you'll know how to do everything.
Be a millionaire.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that. There's a lot of work involved. And so it was a lot of like just networking, getting to know the area, figuring out, what's our strategy, how we're going to market. And then, through that, just kind of.
Did you get a mentor? Did you find a mentor through that process? Like,
I had a mentor through Rich Dad. And
yeah.
then,
I mean, you paid for the mentor, but like, did you find anyone else locally that you connected with?
Not like officially. I mean, I definitely gleaned whatever I could from others that I met with.
Whoever and anyone.
Yeah. But I guess, one of the challenges, you have all these things to do, but you're working full time, and how do you balance those priorities? And so that was a big challenge, and still is to this day. I mean, I'm still working full time.
Just this interview, we're like, hey, we got to do it at lunch,
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about your first deals. Let's talk about, like, so you paid for this education. You got this amazing wife that said, okay. And you're like, Captain America, freaking, I'm going to mail you Captain America flat face mask. I'm like, you should get that tattooed on you. I love the defining moments, and I study MJ DeMarco a lot, and he's like that moment. And it's like, and I just had one of those during COVID, where I'm tired of being tired, I think those are critical for your success. Okay. So you're dialed in. How'd you get your first deal? How did it work? What'd you do?
So I put out a few hundred Bandit signs,
straight lower level. I love it. Straight ghetto, down and dirty.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, going out at like midnight, 2 a.m. in the morning, trying to figure this out. And I'm like, I don't even know where. Like, people always say, like, figure out what neighborhoods you want to invest in. Like, find your areas. I'm more like, I'll put them everywhere. I don't know. And so, put them all over the place. And so actually, this is actually one of the really cool things. So, about a week before this, I called up one of my mentors kind of at the end of the roast and be like, dude, honestly, like, we can't afford rent at the end of the month. Like, we're broke. The baby is like, a month old at this point. And it's like, newborn or not sleeping. I'm broke. And I'd actually gotten ripped off on a deal I had in a contract previously and lost some money on that. That's a whole different story. But like, so it was like a perfect storm of like, nothing's going right. And I'm like, I can't seem to get a deal. And I was calling my mentor. I'm like, dude, I'm at the end of the ropes. Like, I don't have anything. Like, what am I going to do? And he was just encouraging me, like, dude, like, things can turn around just like that. It's like, I've seen it time and time again. I'm like, I know, but still, this is me. Like, good things happen to other people, not to me. It's like that kind of mindset. And it's like,
true.
Like, I'm so stressed out. And like,
it's normal.
For a while at this point, like, one of the hard things about being an entrepreneur is like, everyone loves to see the dollar sign, but nobody likes to see you crying in the corner. At 2 a.m.
I wanted to quit this job.
And so, like, that's the reality leading up to the first deal. And so, like, I have the conversation with them. He encourages, like, no, just get out there, keep doing it, don't give up. And then, like, the next week, it's actually a Sunday morning. This lady calls off the Bandit sign, and I call her right back, and she's like, "Yeah, I can meet you this afternoon." So I go out in that afternoon, and I'm walking through the house, and
and you're young.
Could use a little rehab, and I'm walking through. I'm like, dude, I have no idea what I'm looking at. So I call him. I'm like, Brandon, like, I have no idea what I'm looking at. Like, walking through this. So like, I'm literally on the phone with mentor as he's walking me through everything. He's like asking me all these different questions, and he's awesome. Looking up the area, and he's a little more familiar with that area. And so like, we came up with the offer price together, offered that, and she said yes. We signed it. I'm like, holy crap.
You have a contract.
And then like, as I'm driving away, he's like, hey, my other buddy, he's interested already. Can you meet him there this evening? I'm like, okay. And
so
then
you signed a contract that same day?
Not exactly. But so then, and then the lady calls me back. She's like, actually, no, I just got a counter offer from someone else, and I want to take his deal. I'm like, but we already have it on our contract. But, it was her and her brother. Like, she was the only one who signed my contract, but her brother was also involved. And so technically, without both their signatures, my contract wouldn't stand up. And so I was like, all right, if we counter at this, will you meet me tomorrow morning and sign? And so, met her the next morning. We countersigned with the new offer price. And then,
damn, you're telling me on your first one, you got shaky boots? Dang.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you must have been having diarrhea.
Pretty much. And then he signed it like the next day. And then, I like, So on that one, it's funny. I never even had a chance to market it. It just.
So then you signed. Then you got the new contract price.
Yep.
Okay, what was the price? What was the first price?
So I got it under contract for 112, and I sold it for 114. So I mean, just made
2 G's.
2 G's. I mean,
What
like,
was your first price? So 112 was the second counter. What was the very first? Was it 100, 110? 110?
110. Yeah.
Dang, people over 2 G's, just greedy.
Yeah.
God, it just drives me crazy. 2 G's and
yeah.
This is only not even a year ago. I mean, come on.
No, this is like 4 months ago. Yeah. And so that's my first deal. And so, one of the things I realized pretty quickly is, you go to these real estate classes and teach you all about wholesaling, but then you get into actual closing. They're like, okay, you need to be able to coach the seller through the process. I'm like,
yeah, you're going to have to be the leader.
I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm constantly like on the phone with the other guys, like, all right, what do I tell her? And
good job, Rich Dad Poor Dad. That
yeah,
was Rich Dad Poor Dad coach.
Yeah, yeah,
hey,
and
man.
so
yeah,
and so like they completely held my hand through the whole process. Like I don't know what I would have done without their help. I would have totally botched it.
Well, now
But
you
so,
got now you got superstars around you. Now you got Thomas. You got me. I mean, come on. You ask me a question, man. We walk you through it.
Yeah, and so I guess like that's something I would really want to press on like new people that are getting into it. Is like you don't have to know everything, like, but really depend on others. Like it's not a solo.
I to this day I still call Thomas. Like I'm gonna call him in a minute. I'm like, dude, like I need to do this creative deal. What suggestions you have? Because we are single-minded people, and I'm thinking this, and someone outside the box could see something different. But you can't. You that variable of countering and mudding up an offer that's human, and that's greed, and that just happens. You have to be calm and cool and collective and walk through that process because you could lose the deal over $2,000. And so the guy that bought it from you, what was the ARV on the property? Do you know what? So you got it for 112. You flipped it for 114. So you made 2 G's.
2 G's
on your first one. And then what did that dude? It's got to. I promise you, it's probably worth 80%, 75%.
No.
Like, what did he? It's
so
probably worth
it's funny.
150.
Like I never even actually finished running numbers on it, so I don't even know what the ARV is supposed to be. But I know.
You're a rookie. I'm just playing.
Well, I didn't even have time, and so.
Well, you got 2 G's.
I know I got the money, but yeah, I mean, so I know he put in about 20 grand. He sold it for 168. I want to say.
Okay.
So I mean, he made a good
about 30,000. That's a good flip for him.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a real light rehab too. But yeah, so like that really taught me a whole lot. But then I closed on my second deal less than a week later. So I go from absolute despair, calling mentor like, dude, I don't know what to do.
Can't pay your rent.
I can't pay rent.
You got a baby. You got a brand new baby. What? I mean, you're changing diapers, and you're like 20-something years old. You have no clue.
Right. And literally within 3 weeks of that call, I made $7,000. I was like, holy
on your second
crap.
deal?
Well, 5 on that second one. So combined, I made $7,000 in those 2
so
deals.
far. Okay, cool. So you're rolling down the road. You made more than you made in your flunky 125 job.
Yeah.
With a degree, 5 years in school.
Yeah, and so
I mean, think about it logically. Within a month, you made 7 G's in 1 month. Now, it took you a year to get there. Let's just say 6 months. Right. But you made 7 G's in 1 month, and you have been in college for 5 years with an undergrad in entrepreneur, and you can't even get a job.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it logically. I'm not trying to put you down or make you feel any lesser than we already do feel humbled as it is as humans. Like, when our whole life hinges on an employer, I think that's where we go wrong in society. My self-worth is if I get a job, but if I don't get a job. So I mean, were you elated? I mean, tell me, like, what was your wife like? Did you show her the check? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, showed her the check, showed my coworkers the check. Be like, holy cow, it works. Because when you're initially getting started, it's like. You can only go based off of like other people's success stories. You can't share all your success stories. But at that point, it's like, wow, I actually have a real check. But it's also like fingers crossed. Like I'm not going to celebrate until cash in the bank, and then you celebrate.
Well, you're insecure. I mean, it's like free money. I mean,
yeah, and so that definitely elated is like, wow, we can pay rent. Like this will float us to the next few months. I was able to pay off a little bit of debt, and just like that just gave like so much breathing room where just psychologically. It's like, wow, like I can keep going forward. And so I was able to double down, like, all right, I'm going to get more, I'm going to put more into marketing. I'm going to get out there even more.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
awesome.
yeah, so just kind of went from there. And then
So then you got into you found a partner, right? I mean, the next thing is that you got into a kind of an apartment deal, but it foiled out. But
yeah,
tell us, like, so you got this confidence building, you got a new baby, got a full-time job, and you're still grinding on it right now. And what I remember vividly when we first met, you're like, I'm in an apartment deal. And I was like, okay, yeah. Now you're talking my language, like
yeah,
I'm like, now we're at my commercial level. I'm like, not that my level I'm better than you, but that's just the stuff I'm interested in. Like, how do you fund that? Where's you getting the money? And then you tell us about that. Like, you met somebody, they had an apartment and they were going to fund it. You were running it, you're managing it or something. I can't remember exactly.
yeah. So I was approached about this one by another Rich Dad student who was mentored by the same guy as me, and he was actually putting this deal together, but he wasn't local, and so he needed someone who's local in the deal to partner on it. And it was an owner finance deal. It sounded really great. We were doing our whole due diligence. We were going to the property. We were doing this and that. I was responsible for interviewing all the property managers, so I learned a lot about property management in that process. Called a whole bunch of them. Got to learn a lot more of the basics about multifamily, and then really through the due diligence process, there were just some red flags. Like, we talked to all the tenants there and found out, there's basically someone dealing heroin in the back, and no one's in paying. There was only like 4 paying tenants. The rent roll was,
and this is 21 units, right?
Yeah, and then like right at the same time, COVID hits, and they're like, "Hey, you can't evict anyone." It's like, well, no, we're not going to go through with this, and so we pulled out. So I mean, it's better to
Is it still available?
Deal than to go through with it and lose money.
Yeah, is it still available?
I'm not sure.
You need to circle back, dude, because I'll come down there and swoop it up with you.
All right.
Hey, I mean, I'm all about. This is my new deal, 2020. Yeah. I'm about putting people in equity positions that acquire the asset. That's where I'm at right now. I'm like, and some people want just cash, right? Because you're a wholesaler, whatever the case may be. But definitely, you need to keep that on your tickler file or on your calendar every 3 months or every 30 days. You need to review that deal. You just don't know. That seller may come into reality. An owner finance is extremely cherry, because you don't have to get any bank funding. But you could also offer in a creative structure, hey, cash, what will cash will take to close it out?
Sure,
and then the real investor, he will just, put the pen to the paper. I'm like, how much is it going to cost me to evict everybody? Then my holding cost, then the cost for the money, then my management costs, and so on. And I just factor all that in, and I just put that into the offer. And some sellers just come to reality and realize this is a dog and I can't do nothing with it. I can at least walk away with 50 or 100,000 or whatever the valuation is. But me personally, just as some advice, which you didn't ask, but sorry, I'm going to tell you, but I never let go of any deal until it's done. Like, I mean, there's been deals 2 years later that I've gotten that I have been prospecting, or a deal that I left on my piece of paper in my drawer in my desk, and I looked at it a year later and flipped it. And it was just perfect timing. Like, I called this number. I was like, this number for sale, and this is address. I was like, do you still have that house for sale? Yeah, we do. We're ready now. I mean, of course, that's Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not Steve VanCauwenbergh or somebody savvy. Like, I got some tickler file or, Trello or some kind of management software. I literally. But the point is like, you just never know. We just don't exhaust. I don't exhaust any deal ever until somebody, until it just doesn't make sense. Now, when it doesn't make sense, I'm out. I'm like, you're dumb. You're paying $100,000 per unit. Yeah. Okay, buddy.
Yeah.
Good luck to your $2.2 million apartment building with heroin in the act, and then some, I'm not always perfect, but I do definitely never stop pursuing a deal until it's a no. Okay. So what's your goals now? I mean, so that's where you're at right now. So you just you're burning through COVID.
Yep. And I closed the deal a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Where I made 18,000 on that one.
Wow.
That's about what I've made working full time for 5 months. So if you do the math at this point between these 3 deals I've done.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm adding it up. 25,000.
Yeah, I've made more money in that than I've made in my full time job to this
with
point.
A degree.
Yeah,
with a
degree.
degree. People don't. I mean, you know.
But hey, at least I have healthcare friendly.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Anyways.
Yeah, you're about to open a can of whoop on the
Yeah.
on the.
Yeah.
So
But yeah. So from here, so I've actually partnered up with two other guys in this because really what I was running into is like I have the drive, I have the motivation, like I want to conquer this, but like I don't have a lot of the time, and I don't have the experience with the rehab side of things. I'm not the best at negotiating, and so actually one of the guys that I was partnered with on the apartment deal, him and another guy, we're officially in partnership together. So we're really chasing wholesales together, but really we're looking to buy whatever we can and wholesale what we can't. So, they technically bought the last deal for me, and we made all of us made a nice spread on the front end. It was a great deal. We have another one in contract right now. We have 4 other offers pending. Well, actually 2 of them, we just got 2 contracts signed this morning, actually.
awesome.
So I mean, like momentum's picking up. We're able to tackle this together. So it's like, so another message to like new people is like, you don't have to know everything, but is there someone you can partner with who can comment? Like, I basically handle all the inbound leads. So I kind of direct and manage a lot of the marketing. I handle all the inbound, and I pass off the ones that sound like a deal to them. They do all the follow up, and they handle everything from there. They close the deal, and we split it 3 ways. That works perfectly for us. And from here, we want to set our sights toward multifamily because ultimately my goal is to get into the apartment space. So
Yeah.
And
I mean,
really, like,
just-
I want to build, like, to be able to get my first deal. What I've often been told is, you really need to partner with someone else as a minor partner first, and that's like the best way to be able to get your first deal from there to really put it together. Which I know there's different opinions on that, but like,
yeah, but in my mind, this is a simple answer for you to give you confirmation.
Mhm.
What's the most powerful thing about real estate?
Cash flow,
Leverage. Okay. So if you're going to leverage someone else's relationship on your first deal, I think that's where people get confusion between greed and leverage. Greed is, I'm going to take the whole deal.
Mhm.
And then there's one of Rich Dad's last book that I read, his latest book. And he confesses in there, and it's a very bizarre book. I can't remember. He's psycho in this book. Like, he's all over the place. The world's going to die, blah, blah, blah. But he says there's one paragraph in that book that changed my life. It said, when I go to a market, I find the very best agent and I give them equity. That's where people go wrong. They're just selfish. They're like, I'm not going to give anybody equity. I'm going to take the whole deal to myself. See, I leverage the bank and I leverage relationships.
Mhm.
I leverage the bank and I leverage relationships. That's what you got to do. If you got to partner with someone on the first deal, so be it. Is that the end of the world? No. Will you have other deals? Absolutely.
Mhm.
And there's one wholesaler that you remind me of that I met when he was 19 years old. He was phenomenal. My mentor mentored him. So my mentor mentored me. And this is one of my third mentors, but he was just spending time with me, and I bought a house from him, whatever. And he got this young kid in the game, and this young kid would remind me of you. He was a hustler. He just straight worked like his tail off, and they got up to 20 houses. Now, they actually had 50-50 partnership. Eventually, the young kid wanted to move to Florida, and he sold all those back to that. I mean, he sold his shares to him, and he made some money. But there's no hard feelings there. Now that kid is super successful at 40, 35 years old now. He's killing it.
Mhm.
But he started with partnering with someone. I think that a lot of people just get confused. Like, I don't want to partner with people. Why not? Because you're going to lose a percentage. You would have never gotten that deal if it wasn't for that person. And so I never forget where I came from. And I'm like, I choose to partner and I choose not to partner. Depends on the situation.
Mhm.
I don't mind. There was a huge $200,000 equity deal that one of my mentors was like, why'd you share that deal with that person? I knew that it was a squirrely deal, and I knew that I needed someone else on my side to help me fight this fight if we got in a dogfight with these people when their loan got turned in, where it got called up. And it did. It got called up. And, the great thing is I partnered with this person. We fought and like cat and dogs to keep this $200,000 of equity. And then eventually I turned to this person. I was like, hey, man, just buy me out of the contract. You can take all these 7 assets. And it was $700,000 worth of assets. There was $500,000 in loans and $200,000 in equity. So I made 15 G's. In my mind, it was like $2,000 per deal. If I was a wholesaler, I would be content with 2 G's. I learned a great amount during that process. Now, that person eventually did pretty well financially, but eventually lost those assets because the bank was so tyrant and they won those assets. But it's a long story. But I'm glad I did partner. But when I did partner with this person, a lot of my friends were like, why'd you partner with this person? You didn't need that person. They didn't do any. You found the deal. Sometimes you partner for whatever reasons that you partner. But whoever you're partnering with now, make sure it's all spelled out and make sure there's contingencies like, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if I want to be bought out? What if that person dies? And one thing, James, I want to give you some advice, which is none of my business. And we got to wrap this call up.
Nice.
But you are 2 against 1. And I don't like that type of partnership, meaning these 2 guys know each other and it's you. In my mind, as your pseudo mentor here overnight, you got 2 against 1. That doesn't fly with me. It's not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying that they're lack of integrity. And if they listen to the podcast, whoopee woo. But make sure you put all that in writing and that you're protected. I think that's where we get comfortable and we become friends and we start doing deals. And, even when I loan people money, I have them personal guarantee it. I mean, it's just, I like you and I trust you, but still, this is, I don't have, what if I died? My wife is not going to want that asset. My wife's going to want the money back. Like, it's just simple. So if you don't want to do business with me, that's fine. Cool. Move on. All right. So let's wrap this up right here. I mean, I want to have you back on the show because we're still in the middle of the deal. What advice would you give, or what's the one thing that you've learned that really, resonated with you, especially now since it sounds like the gas is going and you're driving down the road now? And you got your permit and you already got your license. So what advice would you give?
It's okay to not know what you don't know and surround yourself with people who do know and really leverage relationships in your network. And don't get so tied up with, the insecurities of like, well, I don't know how to do rehab. I don't know this or that. It doesn't matter where you start with. Because like, you're always going to be bad at something that you're new at. Like anytime you start something new, you're going to suck at it.
Let's quote that. You're always going to be bad at something that you don't know. You'd start at it. I love it. Great quote.
And so like thinking back to myself, like a year ago, I didn't know anything.
Or anyone.
1 year in, I'm like, man, like I feel like I know like so much now compared to them. But I also realize I'm just touching the tip of the iceberg. Like there's so much more to learn. And so like, just start slow, like really attack it and really jump all in. A lot of people like they'll jump in and they'll fizzle out after 6 months because they think, it's something you can kind of do on the side in your spare time. And they often fizzle out, but, really attack and go all in with commitment level. And you really need to know your why, because reality is anyone starting a business, they're going to have those moments where they're crying in the corner. You need to have a why at that point. More than just, I want to make money. That's great. That's important, but there's got to be a bigger reason than just, I want to make money. And, there were dozens of times where, I was having literally a mental breakdown, and I actually ended up having to go on anxiety meds for like 5 months. I've only been off them about a month at this point, but like,
I believe it.
But starting your own business, it destroys you, and you have to be able to have the strength to keep moving forward. But almost more importantly, surround yourself with people who can march you through that, because it's not a solo sport. You have to do it with others.
Well said, man. You got great things in store for you. I was going to say this earlier, but there was a time when I had about 14 units and I was going to walk away. I mean, it was so much pressure, and I had no money. Houses were breaking. People weren't paying their rent. I couldn't, people were screaming. I couldn't do it. And there was a time where I was just going to walk away at least twice in this game. And I've been on it for 20 years. So, but it's worth the effort. 20 years later, where I'm at today, I mean, not only that, I'm just surreal, just being on the radio show and looking across the screen against some kid that when I started was your age, and it's a great story. And it's not for the faint at heart, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It sounds good on TV, on your Facebook. I see real estate ads every day, and I wonder how many people, even when you were talking, I was wondering what's the percentage? It's like it's got to be the top 1% that actually do it. I'm fortunate enough that I've seen people that started with 0. I have a guy right now that has started with 0 houses. He's got 17. I know another guy and gal that started with 0 and they got 9, and it's cool to see in all those emotions that you go through. You can't do it. You're not worth, the banks won't talk to me. I'm too young. I'm too old. I'm fat. I'm small. And they did it, and it's a proven system. And that leaves me with this last thing. People just trust the system. This, the system can be tweaked, and Rich Dad Poor Dad system worked for you. And, fortune builders may work for somebody else or whatever, or the savvy investors. We got some minor programs, but we got like how to raise money. That's my program. I love private money. Private money is my deal. But, you got to have money. It's oxygen, period. You got to do deals. You got to have money, but just do it, and it may happen for you within a year, make 25 G's, and it may take 5 years, but stay committed and do it, man. I'm super proud of you, man. I'm glad that we became friends. We will be coming back down there. We will do investor weekend. And, I'm trying to tell Thomas right now, man, I want to come back down there now. I want to do something now since it's COVID. We could do like a bus tour. He's like, no. I'm like, let's do a wholesale thing. No. I don't want to teach any of their wholesalers. He's just joking. I'm like, there's so many deals out there. You can get them. All right, James. Well, what's an email? I know that there's someone that is at your level, or there's someone that's lower in their first day of education. Maybe this is the first time they heard. How did people get a hold of you and connect with you? And would you be willing to maybe talk to somebody that's hurting, that needs an answer of real estate? Would you be willing to do that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love meeting new people. Whether you're brand new, you're getting started, or you're in the pit of despair, going through the whole dark night of the soul type experience, or maybe you're way more advanced than me and you want to kind of, share some of your knowledge, or you're interested in maybe partnering on something in the future. I'd love to be able to connect with you. My email is james@seastonehomesolutions.com. So my company is named Cornerstone Home Solutions, but that domain name was taken. So
Seastone, just CSTON.
Yeah.
Cornerstone Solutions. So
correct.
Seastone, CSTONE Corner Solutions. Cornerstone.
Yeah, if you want to put that in the show notes or something like that, you can do
that.
Yep.
And this is James, JAMES, at
correct.
Seastone Solutions.
Seastone Home Solutions.
Damn.
I need an easier URL.
Yeah, you do. It needs to be like jameshelp.com. All right, man. I'll put that out. If you don't know, text me if you didn't get it. If you're listening to this, or message us. And his last name is Greiner, Greiner. That's James, JAMES, GREINER. Hey, man, I really appreciate you tuning in to the Sav Radio Show and
appreciate having
time. Yeah, absolutely. And we'll have more interviews. I know you had some pain on this apartment, and so I think we should cover that again. If you want to hear James again, let us know what subjects you want us to cover. I think, James, you're primed in the heat of it, and you've been through COVID, and you got the courses, and you're dying, and then you even went to the investor weekend, and so you're still got all the fresh juice inside of you. I think that we could squeeze some more out, and it would be beneficial to a lot of people.
Lots more to cover.
All right.
Absolutely. Look forward next time.
All right. You tuned in to the Savvy Radio Show. Go to savvyinvestors.com.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at savvyradioshow.com. Connect on Twitter @LandlordBook and always be buying assets.